YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more NFL record predictions for the 2020 NFL season. This one for my team, actually, the Minnesota Vikings. We are doing every single NFL team. This is the last of the NFC North. But again, we've done a bunch of teams. We will do every single team, I promise. And you're going to want to follow that Twitter because once I'm done with the division, so once I'm done with this video, that division poll goes up. You guys vote for who will win that division. This NFC North one should be a battle. And you guys are basically going to create a playoff layout, and then we're going to go on from there. It's going to be a future video created by you guys. So pretty cool stuff. Follow that Twitter. Link down below. Please subscribe. We're right there at 50K. We're right there now. Really appreciate the support. You guys have been amazing. About a year, just over a year ago, 10K. So this is ridiculous. Can't wait to continue this grind. And at the new podcast, Spotify, Apple, I keep calling it new. It's not so new anymore, but we're going to continue to grind that. So would really appreciate if you can check it out. Playoffpredictors.com is what we're using to make these videos. You guys can go over to that site. Very cool. And make your predictions. Come back to the comments. Let me know. Every game. Would love to compare everyone's in the comments. You guys can kind of discuss amongst yourself. Be nice, though. Obviously. But the Vikings. Breaking down the Vikings. Well, here's the first thing with them. Kirk Cousins. Year one with the Vikings compared to year two, major difference. Major difference. Year one, we're talking decent at best, probably, in terms of his play. That might be generous. Last year, is he a top 10 quarterback? No, I probably wouldn't rank him a top 10 quarterback, but he played like a top 10 quarterback last year, and maybe he could be going forward. Who knows? But first year with a guy like Kubiak, not DiFilippo from the previous year, which was a disaster. So if Cousins takes another step, which is possible, I'm not predicting it here. I'm going to say he probably stays, or it's going to be tough to take that next step. I'm going to say he probably stays the same. But if he does take that next step, the Vikings are going to run away with this division. They're going to run away with it. But I think he stays about the same, so we're going to have a battle, which could be good enough. Need some other guys maybe to step up. No Diggs. You do get Justin Jefferson. They had a pretty good draft. Guys that can impact the game right away. Young guys in the offense. You still worry about the offense line, but young guys, so maybe they get better by default, with some of those young guys stepping up. About Cook staying healthy, I like Alexander Madison either way. It's a really good backup running back. More than a backup, has a pretty big role. I see guys like Irv Smith can step. Look at the defense. They lost a lot of big names, really, or lost a lot of guys. I think people overreact from that a little too much. Yeah, it's tough, but the guys that kind of carried the defense last year, the impact players, they are still there. I'd say the biggest loss, the name maybe says Everson Griffin or Linval Joseph because of the name. But, even though Everson Griffin got some pressure last year, wasn't helping too much in the run game, Joseph continues to get hurt, not the same as used to be. I think Trey Waynes was honestly probably the biggest loss because he was the best corner on the team, in my opinion. They do add some good guys in the offseason. In today's game, I do prefer youth and athleticism at the cornerback position. That's just what's going to be better. You just get the name of the game is pass rush, so they can get that. Add Michael Pierce, which is the younger Linval Joseph, perhaps. So I'm not too, the defense ain't going to be where it was a couple years ago, where it was like top tier. We know that, but it'll be okay. I trust Mike Zimmer, especially, with this group. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference of the, maybe last year. But starting week one, it's a pretty rough draw. As a Vikings fan, it's pretty tough that we finally get to play Green Bay in our house, week one. It's never happened. And it's on a year where the Packers are pretty much the same team, coming off an NFC Championship performance, playing in the NFC Championship game. They're prepared. Prepared. The Vikings got some new faces. Hopefully there's fans in the stadium. I would hope so, because that'd be rough if not. But I think it's tough for them, week one to play the Packers. I got to go with the Packers. Getting the Colts in week two is fantastic, however. New quarterback, some new faces as well. They got to adjust. We saw what the Vikings did to Phillip Rivers last year. Not that means a whole lot. It's a different team, but I think they just match up well. And they can score on the Colts, and they can definitely create some ruckus on the defense side. It's a great matchup for the Vikings, especially in week two. I'll take the Vikings. I think they match up pretty well with the AFC South teams. Honestly, they play the Titans. Titans versus Vikings. Both teams are going to pound the football and then try to open up the play-action pass. So pretty even teams, even on the defensive side as well. The difference here is the home field advantage, which we know the Vikings have one of the best in football. So that's really the deciding factor here. I will take the Vikings now, and if it was in Tennessee, I'd probably go with the Titans. So it's a battle. Derrick Henry versus Dalvin Cook. And there's more to that unit. The play action of Tannehill versus play action versus Kirk Cousins. Vikings, Texans, again, I think they match up well with the AFC South teams. Um, I think they can bring the pressure on Deshaun Watson that he will still score some points, but it's a defense the Vikings can definitely score on. It's one of those games. We've seen those games, like those glimpses last year, where they were just able to score at will at times, and it was crazy because then they just weren't able to do it in some other games. So I think it's kind of one of those games, especially early on here when they're healthy. Take the Vikings in that one. This one's an easy one. Seattle primetime in Seattle. It's a guarantee the Seahawks are winning. That's the game. For some reason, that's a game every single year. Vikings at Seahawks primetime. You know. I don't know. I'm going with Seahawks. They're going to win that game. Falcons at Vikings. Take the Vikings. They continue to beat the Falcons. Falcons being inconsistent. It's a defense they can score on, and it's an offense they can get pressure on. They can stop. Get the bye week in Week 7. That's a pretty good bye week. Last week, I believe they had it late, and that kind of caused injury and tear. So this is good. Good news is they're not playing Green Bay in the freezing cold. It's not late, but in Lambeau, it's going to be the Green Bay Packers going to be a good team again as long as they're healthy. So I do have them going 0-2 against the Packers, unfortunately. They bounce back. They'll beat the Lions here at home. Monday night in Chicago. Bears are going to win that game. Prime time, Monday night. In Chicago. It's going to be a tough one. Take the Bears. Vikings over the Cowboys at home. It's a good stretch here. After they get the bye week, they get some tough ones. Home against the Cowboys. Home against the Panthers. Home against the Jags. This is a good stretch for them. This is a good stretch to kind of get back going because they were kind of getting close to 500 there. And you're going to kind of bust through. Bad time to play the Buccaneers. You're playing them in Tampa. Tom Brady, Gronk, all these guys just getting going. They're going to be a really good team this time of the year. I mean, the Vikings should be too, but I got the Buccaneers. Bears, Vikings. Bears keep beating the Vikings. Last game of the season, they did play with their backup, so you can't base too much off that. I like that they don't play them in the usual very early and Week 17. I like that a lot. So I think the Vikings finally bust through that, beat the Bears with their home game, split with them. Vikings Saints. This is a Christmas game, so I like some of the where they play these teams. What's lined up. What I don't like, I guess, is prime time at Seattle, prime time at Chicago, Christmas at New Orleans. So that's pretty tough, but they seem to match up well against Saints. Why? Is because Mike Zimmer's just still that old school defense. He knows how to play against the pro style offense. You see when they play kind of the new school, they play the RPO. They really don't know what to do too much. When they play the pro style, they kind of get to Drew Brees. They may make him off his game. So that could be a factor here for sure. That's why this will always be a good game because they know how to play each other. Really is what I'm getting at. Christmas Day though, regular season is a key part, and in New Orleans, I got to go with the Saints in that one. And then against Detroit, good draw to play them in Detroit last game of the year. Why? Because you rather play them at home when they're feeling it. The Lions are kind of feeling it in the early part of the season. They're healthy. Stafford's consistent. The team's consistent. Later in the year, usually unhealthy, inconsistent, and you're playing them in Detroit, which really might not matter a whole bunch for them. So I take the Vikings in that. So NFC North, as we can see, and ignore 18 is trying to predict. I'm not finished with the record predictions yet. NFC North, interesting. I don't think there's a dominant team. The Packers were pretty close last year. I only felt like there was only one NFC dominant team last year, but I think there's no dominant team, but man, it's tight. I did the regular predictions for the other teams. I had the Bears, Packers, Vikings all at 10-6, so it's about the tiebreakers. I think kind of getting swept by the Packers could be the tough one there. And the Packers I had doing pretty well in the division. So we'll kind of circle back and summarize what I had for everybody's record predictions once we're through every team's. But how good the NFC is this year, I think how it's going to be, some of the records will be. Even though 3 teams are 10-6 in the NFC North, it wouldn't surprise me if I only had one just division winner in. So that's the tough part there. But we're going to see. Where's the best case scenario at? Best case scenario, maybe they beat the Packers at home week 1. I did have them winning some of these tough games. I do like the way they match up on them, but Titans might be a real tough one. So don't forget I did have that. Best case, I think in best case, they do match up well against the Saints. They can beat. So I think best case around 12 wins. So 10 to 12 wins. Worst case, let's kind of go back to what I had originally here. I had 10 wins like that, and worst case, maybe they just don't improve at all. There's too many new faces. I think they match up really well in this game. The Titans beating the Texans could beat them. Let's see, we got Cowboys can take them down here. The Bears can beat them twice. Really could be by. It's hard to see the Vikings because they seem like they're consistently, even when they don't make the playoffs, kind of just miss, So consistently pretty solid, I guess. So it's tough to see that, but you see by the opponents they play, it's possible. I don't really see it, but it's possible, as you can see here. So, but I did have, kind of going back through, I did have them, and they match up well against the AFC South teams there. I just think they do. I had them going this route here, 10-6, around that range. Just kind of feeling that 9-10. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Click that like button. Check us out on our channel, our Twitter. All that is very important to us. Really appreciate the support if you can help us out. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.